Hello and welcome to the SRO Esports GT Series. We're here for the third round of this championship at the Nurburgring. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Jack Nichols and we've got two 1-hour races to bring you. First up, we've got a race for the professional racing drivers that you'll see on track in the GT World Challenge powered by AWS later this year. And we've then got a race for the silver drivers, which are some of the top sim racers out there. And that's going to be an incredibly competitive race as well. But we'll start off with the professionals. We've got Luigi Lorenzo leading that championship, but he's only 2 points in front of Jordan Pepper and Lorenzo Marcucci, only 3 points ahead of Ivan Pereira. So it's incredibly tight there. Qualifying has taken place already. We'll bring you up to speed with all of that later on. We'll be checking in with John Watson, Ben Constanduris and David Addison. But first of all, a new initiative from David Perrell, one of the professional racing drivers that we'll be seeing out on the real world circuit. He is developing a school to teach drivers how to get quicker in the real world and in the simulated world. Let's take a look. So the Coach Dave Academy, which last week had Jean-Eric Verne competing with it, the two-time Formula E champion and Formula One driver. So let's turn our attention then to the race that we've got coming up today. Joining me is David Addison. David, great to have you with us as we look forward to this first pro race. Luigi Di Lorenzo, top of the championship, as I mentioned, but he, Jordan Pepper, Lorenzo Marcucci and Ivan Pereiras, all separated by just 3 points, which is really, really close at the third round of the series.
And now we're getting to the point, Jack, aren't we, where this is all getting very serious indeed. As you say, it's a narrow margin at the very top of the championship table. And when you throw in the extra success weights, it means that Marcucci, who was so good at Spa, falls back on the grid here. And Jordan Pepper, second equal in the championship, winner at Silverstone, he's going to start on pole position here. So he's in the box seat, really, to try to, if you like, make amends for the dramas he had at Spa when the extra weight meant he was mired in midfield. He, from the front, should be able to get away here and start to rack up more points, and that's good for the championship.
Yeah, the race here at the Nürburgring this weekend, and like with Spa and Silverstone and Monza previously, they're racetracks that are really iconic and synonymous with the GT World Challenge, aren't they? And I've really enjoyed, in all the practice and the testing that we've been watching, seeing Nürburgring brought to life quite so vividly.
And of course, as we've also said in previous rounds of the championship, the partnership between Assetto Corsa Competizione and SRO means that you've got real-world balance of performance data. So the car to beat here last year in the first sprint race that we had in the GT World Challenge Europe was the Lamborghini. In the second race, it was the Aston Martin. Can we anticipate seeing those cars up near the pointy end of the grid? Well, on the evidence of qualifying, actually, no. Bentley looking very strong. Also, Porsche looking good. And so too, McLaren. So it's going to be a fascinating showdown for 1 hour, certainly for the pros, to see exactly which brand, and we've got 10 of them on the grid, comes out on top.
Well, as you say, it's Bentley who have taken pole position. Let's take a look at the Fanatec track guide of this Nürburgring circuit with Bentley's Mike Nobel.
Hello everyone, my name is Mike Noble. I race for Bentley Motorsports in the SRO Esports Silver Series. I will now show you a lap of Nurburgring GP with the Bentley Continental GT3. Enjoy! Hello, welcome to my lap on the Nurburgring. This track has a lot of technical parts, especially the arena section, which is the first sector. Coming into the first corner, brake just before the 100 meter board. Hard on the brakes, followed by throw braking into T1. You can use the inside curb to quickly turn the car. Stay close to the middle of the track before you turn in. Stay in gear 3. Use the inside curb to rotate the car more. Be careful with power oversteer. Go wide on exit, try to be as smooth as you can. Use the left side curb to rotate the car. Use gear 2, take a lot of the curb here. Be careful on power. Stay within the white line, getting a track cut warning happens easily here. Move as far to the right side as you can before the next corner. Brake on the curb, shift back to gear 3. Don't go too wide, you will compromise the entry in the next corner. Shift back to gear 2, rotate the car on brakes. Just off the apex, apply as much power as you can. Now, stay as much to the left side as possible. Brake when you're halfway on the first curb on the left side. Dive deeper to the corner, go slightly wide and double apex it. Get on power as soon as you can. Use the right side curb to rotate the car on entry into Schumacher S. Stay in gear 4 and play with the throttle to get desired rotation and grip. Move towards the right side. Use the green AstroTurf on braking. Be careful, it's more slippery. Back to gear 3 and use the inside curb. Now, turn in and try to do a late apex. This will gain you more speed on the following straight. Now, try to take a smooth line here. You don't want to scrub off speed. For the chicane, you want to brake at around 75 meters, between 100 and 50 meter board. Stay in gear 4. Do not hit the high sausage curb on the left hander. For the final corner, shift down to gear 3. Stay as close to the inside as you can. Get on power, but be careful with power oversteer. This was my lap at Nurburgring. I hope you enjoyed it.
So we have got two races coming up for you today in the SRO Esport GT Series. The first race is for the professional racing drivers. That is about to get underway. They're about to start their warm-up lap now, come around to the grid. Then we'll have a 1 hour race, a short break before we get on to our 1 hour race for the silver class, which is for the top line sim racers. But as the cars pull away now on their formation lap, it's time to hand over to the gentleman that will be calling the race. We'll have Ben Constant-Juris, our sim racing correspondent, as he would like to be known. We've got 5 times Grand Prix winner John Watson, and bringing you the coverage as ever here on SRO GT, it's David Addison.
Jack, thank you very much. We'll see you in an hour's time. Thanks very much indeed, as we are set to go racing then. There is, however, a gap on the grid, and Ben might be able to shed a bit of light on this, but it looks like Jenson Button, sadly, Ben, is missing from the grid as they get away.
Yeah, it does look like that. I'm not quite sure exactly why that is, but I noticed he wasn't in the practice session earlier on, and he has had issues with his connectivity over the last couple of weeks, both in this racing and other racing he's been doing, and it just perhaps means that demand on the internet wherever he is in the world is too high, and his ping is too big.
As Ben was making the point, it's an evening race. We are looking at 7:05 local time, so the conditions therefore for the air temperature and how that will affect the cars are simulated accurately. They make their way now up towards the chicane. It's the so-called motorbike version of the chicane, the more flowing, softer, less stop-start, less mayhem-inducing version of the chicane. The FIA approved officials, Peter Roberts as the race director, Richard Norbury as the steward, will be looking on to make sure that everybody behaves themselves. If the order is good, when they get themselves out of the final corner on the lap, then we'll be good to go racing to get our Pro 1 hour thrash underway. Here they come then. The grid is formed. The man on pole position is Jordan Pepper. It is Louis Delatraz alongside him. The second row is Ben Barnicoat and Alessio Picariello. McLaren versus Porsche on row 2. It's Porsche, though, that gets the drop on Bentley from row 1. And Louis Delatraz is away like a robber's dog down towards turn 1 as they head towards the Mercedes arena. Ben Barnicoat tries to have a look up on the inside line. Is there going to be contact? No, they just about avoid it. Round the outside line goes Picariello, and that's Jordan Pepper. He does get it wrong, or he did get a tap. Either way, exit stage right. The McLarens go side by side. Ben Barnicoat coming under attack. Michael O'Brien is in the mix as well. 25 is the Audi of Oscar Rougier as they thread their way around the Mercedes arena for the first time. But John talked about a pinch point, and inevitably, John, we've lost a car. There's more mayhem in the background.
Yes, it did look to me as if there was a light contact. The front of the McLaren, Ben Barnicoat, the rear of the Bentley, Jordan Pepper. And as we've seen in the 2 previous rounds, even the slightest contact in a sim event will rotate a car or take a car off track. So that will be looked at. Now, Ben Barnicoat was coming down into turn. When he tried to go down the inside initially, there wasn't space. The contact actually happened more towards the exit of turn 1. In the meantime, Louis Delatraz, he's up and running, and, well, he's not even the side of Ben Barnicoat, who's running in second.
Mayhem down at turn 8 after Rougier has been through the gravel. Crestani, I think, has had a spin. There's an Aston getting roughed up in there as well. It might have been Giotto's car, but we'll come back to all of that. Ben is going to have a look at some of these incidents as well and try and unravel it for us. But Delatraz has made good his escape. He's already 1.6 seconds clear of the opposition, as on this opening lap, Ben Barnicoat runs second. Third is Picariello, and already Michael O'Brien being shown as heading for the pit lane. James Pull has picked up a drive-through penalty, seemingly down in 20th place. So, Ben, a lot's been going on this first lap of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and most key was there was the slightest of kisses between Barnicoat and Pepper on the exit of that first turn, and basically Jordan Pepper just got turned around the front of Ben Barnicoat because of the contact. I don't think there was contact with the wall though, so Jordan Pepper's Bentley should be pretty straight, and damage is simulated and is punished very badly in sim racing, so if you do damage your car, it slows it down a lot. I have a feeling that the Bentley will be okay with that, but we have to wait to see what race direction thought about the contact with Ben Barnicoat.
Now, as you look at Alex Bunkum's Bentley, news from the stewards, the incident involving Ben Barnicoat and Jordan Pepper on the opening lap, no further action. So Ben Barnicoat is safe and he's closing on Louis Delatraz as Alex Bunkum heads up now towards the chicane. Alex, seemingly, Ben, having his best showing of the season thus far, going really nicely.
Yeah, it looks like Bentley have really sorted themselves out for this particular track, perhaps on the back foot with many of their drivers when it came to Silverstone, but with Andy Susek well up there and Alex Bunkum and of course Jordan Pepper leading the way, perhaps Jordan Pepper has helped out his teammates a little bit to give it a proper army of Bentleys at the head of the field. Either way, we've had plenty of support from the PR department, and they've done such a fantastic job of almost treating this as though it was real life and trying to maximise the amount of brand awareness. They really have done a great job for it. And now Susek rewarding them with being in fourth spot.
Now, what about this battle? Ivan Pereiras in the red Audi, keeping Scott Mulvern at bay. Now, don't forget that Pereiras comes into this race fourth in the championship, but his car, 42 kilos heavier than at Spa, because Audi's banked first and second places. So coming up the hill now, that's going to be really handicapped. Meantime, Bunkum is keeping Perel at bay. This is for 9th place, so these are the last two drivers in the points. A look further down, Ben. What about Jordan Pepper? He's a bit stuck for the minute, isn't he, down in 20th?
Yeah, Jordan Pepper's not making a huge amount of progress. I've actually been keeping half an eye on the battle for third position, because Andy Susek has done a great job of really closing on the tail of the Porsche, and in fact he now looks down the inside. Good work from our director. There's contact between the two.
Picariello goes off the road. Yes, John?
That was a real hip and shoulder. Then the next Bentley upline, Monty in the number 10 Bentley, also sees an opportunity to get past the Porsche, which was literally a snooker ball attack as it came into that final chicane. So the Porsche has dropped back, lost 2 places due to that contact. Again, that'll be something that'll be looked at. And because there was a benefit to Suchek in that overtake, he may be required to drop back and let the Porsche, well, in fact, I'd have to let Monty go through as interesting call to see whether that will get the attention of the race steward or whether that will be given a bye, as was the case with the touch in the opening lap in the first corner between Barnicoat and Pepper.
Drama down at turn 1. There's a car off. I think that was the Porsche. Picariello looked as though he has gone either with help or of his own moment off the road.
Just like looked to me as he did something, didn't happen. He just went straight down. He didn't even appear to turn.
Now Ben might be able to have a look in the game at that for us and try and add to the evidence, as you see Maxim Yefanov get up the inside of Crestani for 18th place. But drama down at turn 1, which simulates what we had in the real world in a sense last year with the WRT Audis handing victory to Aston Martin when they tangled and gave Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirkhofer a win.
Well, Crestani is just about hanging on by the skin of his teeth, keeping the Ferrari behind him. McLaren's ought to be competitive because they're running without ballast. We know that they were very quick. Crestani started on the 3rd row of the grid in 6th place, but because of that, whatever the penalty he got, he's down in 18th and really being defensive rather than attacking.
There's quite a mix-up, David, down the start-finishing straight. Picariello squeezed Marcucci to the wall and they made contact before they even got to the first corner. Picariello was out of control in the braking zone and collected Luca Giotto as well. So 3 cars affected there, and it's a big shame for Giotto, although I think he should be okay damage-wise.
Okay, thanks for that, Ben. Jordan Pepper is your next one to investigate because he's pitted, having fallen further and further down the order. I may have to whisper this, but David Perel has been given a warning from the stewards. Now, that was why Picariello had a poor exit onto the pit straight, because he made a right mons of the chicane. That, therefore, got Marcucci onto his tail. And then, as Ben was explaining, it all kicked off down at turn 1. So Scott Malvern right on the back, just incidentally to catch up on penalties. Ben reported earlier Martin Kodrich had been in the pits. Well, he's got a 30-second stop-go penalty for causing a collision and also an unsafe release. So Martin Kodrich, if his day wasn't bad enough, it's about to get even worse, I'm afraid to say. Scott Malvern here looking for a place in the top 10, but Pereiras keeping him at bay for the moment as they plunge downhill once again. Malvern not close enough to have a go here.
A battle for the lead, side by side for the lead of the race. Delatraz had made a huge error just a few moments ago, as we see Scott Malvern making an error as well. But side by side for the lead, Barnicoat trying to get down the inside of Delatraz.
Okay.
Didn't work. He's now 1.5 seconds behind.
Absolutely.
Still side by side. It's still side by side, and Barnicoat has made it through.
Okay.
Got a new leader.
Thanks for that, Ben. We're looking at Scott Malvern, but we'll try and get a replay of the lead change if we can in due course. Santamato, then you're on board with in 12th place, but a new race leader. Ben Barnicoat it is up front, and Louis Delatraz 3/10 back. So what is going to be able to come from the Porsche now to fight back, having made a mistake? Delatraz falling behind Ben Barnicoat. That's the new order, as Ben Constanduris was explaining. So it is Ben Barnicoat in the lead of the race, down to second, Louis Delatraz, but it suggests, John, that Louis is not giving up. He wants that lead back. He's going to fight.
Well, that's all he's got left to do. I mean, he's got a car that's been dominant all evening. But Ben Barnicoat, we didn't see the pass. I suspect it happened into the final turn. What we saw was coming down into turn 1, at which point the McLaren was ahead of the Porsche. So Delatraz, having taken control from the opening lap into turn 1, now has got a different dynamic on his hands. Right now, I suspect that the pace that Ben Barnicoat has been able by catching up relative to the Porsche is going to be enough to keep him into the lead. 8 minutes or just under 9 minutes of the race remaining. Delatraz probably hasn't got an awful lot left in the tank, but of course, keep the pressure where you can.
Since Barnicoat's been in the lead, the pace actually has been faster than it had been when Delatraz was ahead.
Okay.
But Barnicoat definitely made a little mistake in that start of that lap, because as you saw, Delatraz right back on the tail, and Delatraz is very much the faster of the two now, and again they're side by side.
Okay, so we're on board with Marchiello. There is Delatraz on the outside line. Barnicoat runs it wide up the curb, goes off the road and back on again, but Delatraz will have to get the undercut. Outside line out of the S's. He wants the inside line for the next section of circuit, but Ben Barnicoat just scrabbles his way back in front as they make the run now down towards the Van Bogen through that fast right. Delatraz looking the quicker up towards the chicane then. Clouds looking a bit ominous overhead for the next race, aren't they, as they flick through the chicane. So Ben Barnicoat now has to go defensive. They're going to be able to squeeze 2, maybe 3 more laps out of the race. And now here they come onto the pit straight once again. Can Ben Barnicoat hang on to this advantage? Or, John, can Delatraz do his demon late break going into turn 1?
Well, I mean, complete surprise to me to see Ben Barnicoat being, whatever his problems are, that's certainly unexpected again. Down under braking. You can see Delatraz closes up to the rear of the McLaren. That's ordinarily what you would expect to see. It's on the exit of the corner. So these two cars covered what, by 2/10, 3/10 of a second, 4/10 if they came out of turn 1. Back this tight turn 3 frustration. So it's slow in, get the throttle open, then accelerate hard out of turn 4. Now Ben Barnicoat has got short straight before he comes down to the Valvoline curve. This is the first of these corners that leads ultimately to the lowest part. Delatraz, I mean, how close does he want to get? Because if he gets any closer, he again will fall into the same trap of getting too close, losing momentum. Barnicoat accelerates down the hill, pulls a little bit of a gap. Gap then once again shortens under brakes. McLaren accelerates, gets the benefit of the climb up the hill. Both cars running without any ballast. Down to the different technologies, down to the different driver skills. I would have said Ben Barnicoat should have had this done and dusted a long time ago. I don't know why or what his issues have been, that he's allowed Delatraz to come back at him so quickly and aggressively.
It's almost like Louis Delatraz is better as the chaser than the chased, isn't he? He's got something to focus on here, whereas maybe in the
Story of my life, David. Story of my life.
Too much information, John. Louis Delatraz on this section seems to drop back a little. The perhaps more aero-friendly McLaren able to cut through the air on the run up towards the chicane. 2 more laps to run. They will be able to do here. Looking at the clock, you're on board with Delatraz again. So 8/10 at the last sector. Brake turn into the old Coca-Cola curve. You've got the Nordschleife on the left. You've got the hotel on the outside of the road now. Race control and the media centre on the inside as they came past the pits. There it is as we look back from Ben Barnicoat onto his penultimate lap now, I reckon, looking at the clock. Down they go towards turn 1, and here comes Delatraz closing up again under braking.
Well, certainly the Porsche does appear to have a marginal advantage under braking, particularly into turn 1, but I don't really understand, because both cars are probably pretty much equipped with very similar braking equipment, but Delatraz closes that gap in the first sort of third of the lap. So the gap when they came across the line had extended up to 9, almost a full second. But by the time they're going to get down to the lower parts of the circuit, that's going to be suddenly back up to, we're looking 5/10, so still 9/10. So up through this bit curve, then onto the second quickest part of the circuit.
And now, Ben, it seems that the pace is picking up. They both know they're running out of time. This is the moment. If you've got anything left in the tank, or effectively in the rubber, now is the time to really push, isn't it?
I think this is the key thing right now, is that they are running way closer to the ultimate lap time than they were midway through the race. They were in the mid-55s in the middle part of the race. Okay, Delatraz's last lap at 55.8 with a mistake for sure, but they were in the 54s when Barnicoat first got ahead. And I think, by running that close to the limit, you're much more susceptible to making those small errors, to running a little bit wide over curbs, and that's where we've seen their mistakes creep in. But Delatraz faster on this lap again, but I'm not quite sure close enough.
But this is what we want from GT3, isn't it? Whether it's in the real world or the sim world, 2 young star drivers, 2 different brands, and they are leaving nothing on the table. It might only be a sim race, but each of these 2 really wants to win this. And now look, as they come onto the pit straight, we've got now less than a lap time left in the race, so this will be the last lap. This is pretty much Delatraz's last chance now to close up at the end of the straight.
Yes, down into turn 1, the 6/10 of a second when they came across the line. Delatraz yet again closes that, almost halves that 6/10 of a second as they go into turn 1. So Ben Barnicoat will be having one eye looking forward, one eye in his mirror to see where is Delatraz making up all this ground. Why is the Porsche suddenly coming alive at this last lap, the last 5 minutes of this race? He's been under pressure, which in my view, once he'd taken to consolidate and pull away very comfortably indeed. But the Porsche and Delatraz, they're back at the races. They've got maybe 1, maybe 2 chances on this final lap. Barnicoat will defend if his life depends upon it.
Of that you can be assured. Ben can be a feisty driver when he needs to be. Big fan of, and has even raced in Brisker Formula 1 stock cars, so he's not afraid to get his elbows out. Through turn 8 he comes. Delatraz again good on the brakes. That Porsche brings down the gap, but even if he gets right under the rear wing of that McLaren, he's got to find a way past. And Ben Barnicoat turns his way out of the Schumacher S's then, with Delatraz a little bit nearer once again. Lights are flashing as Delatraz feints to the inside line. Ben Barnicoat is still able to keep him at bay then as they go through left, through right. Half a lap to go in this third round of the SRO Esport GT Series. And it's McLaren versus Porsche, 2 great names of motorsport, and it's McLaren in charge as Ben Barnicoat leads the way. The gap at the last split was half a second, but I'm just not convinced Delatraz is going to get close enough to be able to have a go. He's going to have to hang everything out through the chicane, and even that doesn't help him, because as they get to the Coca-Cola curve, he does close up, but there's no gap. There's a tap in the tail. That's going to unsettle the McLaren on the dash to the flag. Who is it going to be as we wait to see? Ben Barnicoat, Louis Delatraz head up towards us. Is it going to be the McLaren to hang on in there? It's going to be a virtual dead heat between the 2 as they come across the line. But Ben Barnicoat does win by 0.07 of a second. Brilliant race. Louis Delatraz second. Andy Soucek takes third ahead of Romain Monti. David Perel fifth. and a really good 6th place for Ben Tusting, but 7/100ths of a second splits the top 2 as you see Raffaele Marciello go home for 8th, just ahead of Alex Buncombe then at the end, and Scott Malvern into the top 10. And there's a car there that has ground to a halt on the pit straight, but 7/100ths at the end of an hour of racing. John, that was proper, wasn't it?
Phenomenal finish. I mean, I didn't believe that Delatraz had anything remaining in the tank once he lost the lead, but he came back that last lap, and I mean, there was the lightest of contact with the McLaren and the Porsche coming into that final turn, but no gain, nothing lost. So 700ths of a second, I mean, you can't even blink that quickly. Outstanding by both drivers.
This is the race, the 3rd round in the SRO Esport GT Series from the Nurburgring, and this is the silver class for the top line sim racers. The man on pole position is David Tonitza. He's a 2-time F1 Esports champion, just to give you an idea of the quality of drivers we have in this field. Ben Constanduris is sheltering under some pit garage somewhere away from the pouring rain, and in the nice warm commentary booths are John Watson and David Addison.
Jack, thank you very much. It is time then to put your virtual anoraks on, virtual umbrellas going up all around the circuit. The temperature has noticeably dropped. It's chilling John's white wine, admittedly, but it is now getting quite chilly here at 7:05 local time at the Nurburgring. It's a properly wet circuit, and this is going to be fascinating. We've been wondering what the SRO GT Esports Series, the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform would look like if we got a wet race. Well, here we are. Prayers answered. The rain dance has come true for us. You're looking from onboard Tobias Pfeffer's car as they tiptoe their way around turn 8. Well, John, different set of circumstances now. It's not just about speed. It's also about some guile. It's about survival in these conditions. Okay, right. There's one car. It is the Özcan BMW. Furkan Özcan's BMW that's in the pit lane. We are set to go racing then. It's round 3 of the Silver Series in the SRO Esport GT Series Championship for 2020. It is go, it is wet, it is Ferrari versus Porsche from the front row of the grid. David Tonitza just alongside Eamon Murphy. Eamon Murphy in the Porsche gets his nose in front on the outside line, but he can't get round the outside to grab the lead. He stands his ground. He's got the inside line for turn 2. Eamon Murphy tries to get the undercut. Does he do it? Yes, he does. The Porsche leads the way. Tonitza drops into 2nd place. Arthur Camara is there in 3rd. Luca Losio was trying to make a good start in the Porsche, but he's dropped back, I think, as they wriggle their way out of the Mercedes arena for the first time. John, that was good driving by Eamon Murphy.
Good driving. Oh, and contact just on the exit of turn 4. But as you say, great driving by Eamon Murphy. Took the benefit of maybe a slightly apprehensive Tonitza coming through those opening corners, but got the Porsche into the lead again. In these conditions, that's the most valuable thing to do. Get away from any traffic around you. But a little bit of carnage on the exit of turn 4. The Bentley got rotated. That might have been Philippe Sima, I'm not sure, in the number 5 Bentley.
I think you might be right. We're getting a drive-through shown against the names of Arthur Camara and also Jack Keithley. I think Tobias Pfeffer was involved in that skirmish as well. But this is a really impressive opening that by Eamon Murphy. The Irish driver leads the way then. 11th at Silverstone, the best that we've seen of him thus far up until this. Well, he seems to be, Ben, somebody able to adapt to the wet really easily.
I have a feeling he retired at a lap 1 at our first race at Silverstone, and the Porsche obviously works well around here, whether it be wet or dry. The car looks very settled. Arthur Camara, championship contender with a drive-through penalty, and he'll be in pit lane. That is going to be absolutely disastrous for his championship. And Jack Keithley up to 6th position now, and he is also heading for the pits too. Those will be automatic drive-throughs for cutting the track. Now, when you've got a car in front of you that's spun, sometimes you do have to cut the track to avoid contact. So race control can take a look at those and they can clear them if needed. And that's probably why Camara and Keithley are doing an extra lap. They'll have team managers, Williams team manager, for instance, will be on chat with race direction and will be able to address those situations for the driver whilst the driver focuses on race action. John, in terms of what you're seeing right now, those onboard shots, does it feel real to you? Because for me, it's pretty close.
Well, I know that you've done a lot of races in the wet, Ben, and you've probably got a good feel for it. But the reality is, on a wet racetrack, as we have right now at Nurburgring, Oh, and another car is up. One of the McLarens getting turned around. It couldn't quite get the number. Turned around again in the exit of turn 4. But the thing is, nobody here is using the offline in wet conditions, which is something the clever racers probably will want to use.
That McLaren that spun was Niels Neujoks, I think, who's not having a lot of luck in this series, the man that manages the Red Bull esports program. So he was 7th, but exit stage left. The race order, and it's going to change anyway because of penalties, never mind what's going on the track, is Eamon Murphy leading David Tonitza. Camera is 3rd, but then to inherit that place, it's going to be Jan-Marcel Dietrich in the Rover liveried Porsche, because he will be next on the road. Jack Keithley comes through ahead of Heather Cecilia in the Aston Martin. Philippe Simard runs 7th, and then the HWA Race Lab Mercedes of Tim Heinemann, GT4 racer and sim racer. He is in 8th place. There he is. HWA Race Lab that competes in FIA Formula 2 and Formula 3 and operates the customer racing program for Mercedes AMG, has done for a decade now. It also looks after the Mercedes-Benz EQ Formula E team and is earmarked to be taking part in Extreme E. HWA, of course, Hans-Werner Alfrecht's initials, the man that was behind the team and for many, many years behind the ITR that operated the DTM. So Eamon Murphy's advantage then, growing all the time, helped by that battle for second spot, because as they argue, so they delay one another. Down the hill goes Ufuk Baba once more, wanting to break into the points. So the number 86 BMW, there it is. Ufuk's had a 39th and a 27th as his 2 results thus far. And here he is in 11th place. So going really well here, right on the back of the Audi. Remember that the Audi is a heavy car for the purposes of the silver race here. Winning last time out at Spa, so therefore it carries 25 kilos. 17 on the Lexus, although we don't actually have Hani Al-Sabti, who was 2nd at Spa, and then 10 on the Lamborghinis. So that's how the weight balance, the weight distribution for success goes coming into the silver race here. So 155, Enzo Benito under attack. He's got a Lexus behind him, which is the car of Axel Petit, and as I just said, that's got an extra 17 kilos thanks to Al-Sabti's result at Spa.
One of the factors in a wet race is that the weight penalty that you're carrying probably has less effect than the other effects, i.e. a wet racetrack, and parts of the racetrack being wetter than others. As we look to see Benito, can he make a pass? And Salva, can he just about hold it? It's very, very tight. Salva was the wider of the 2 in turn 1, which gives him the upper ground when he goes into turn 2. So these 2 have been pushing, shoving literally all the way around the racetrack. Benito thinks he can make a move up into turn 3, very tight indeed. Salva gives him the I thought he'd given him enough room, but he got the back end of the McLaren step out, and that's bad news for Salva, good news for Benito.
So Salva, 19th, he started, was 7th, slips back down to 8th. He might lose another place if he's not careful, because he's got Petit crawling all over the back of him. Axel Petit, you're riding with him here then, the French driver in the Tech 1 Racing liveried Lexus, staring at the back of Patrick Salva, the man that won dominantly at Silverstone, left everybody else squabbling behind him. He just drove away from the opposition. 34 minutes on the clock, Porsche leading the way. Eamon Murphy, the Irishman, ahead of Spaniard Jesus Cecilia, and then David Tonitza down in 3rd spot right now.
Interesting just to see Cecilia now that he's gotten into 2nd place. The gap between first around just under 4.5 seconds. Now that Cecilia has got that place, he can now focus on the Porsche directly ahead. Was he going to make any headway into that advantage that Porsche has had all the way through?
So Axel Petit on board, still chasing Patrick Salva. It looks wet here, or wetter. I think that's part of the spray coming onto the windscreen, but absolutely. Through they turn, up towards the chicane. But Petit not close enough there to have a go as they turn into the corner. While all this is going on, incidentally, HWA Race Lab, which is operating Tim Heinemann's car in 4th place, is running a sim racing bingo on Instagram, which you can watch parallel to the live stream. So if you fancy having a go to Instagram, have a look for HWA Race Lab sim racing bingo. Whatever next.
David, what house, which is what you say when you won bingo, is that right?
It is what you shout, yes. So
Hoos. It's actually Hoos.
Cecilia now makes his move, closes up towards the chicane. Through they turn, left, right, ride the curb. Both of them taking a huge bite out of the middle. Porsche goes wide. Cecilia up the inside line into the Coca-Cola curve. Job done.
Yeah,
that was Eamon Murphy making a mistake, and he left that door wide open.
Yeah, he got the left side of the Porsche on the curb. The back end snapped. He had to get out of the throttle. Easily seen and read by Cecilia. He did absolutely the perfect overtake. He applied the pressure. He got the result that he wanted, and he just then placed the Aston Martin up the inside into the final turn, and as easy as you like. And that's the way you want to make a pass. You want to force your competitor into the error. I thought it might have been Murphy trying to force Cecilia to make an over-eager pass. But now the pass has been made. Cecilia, clear air, going to drive away. And now Murphy's got to contend with the back marker, McLaren, getting into the mix outside of the points, outside of the overall positions. But nevertheless, it's a frustration.
Further up the road now, Tonitza is under attack from Axel Petit. There they go. Here is the Lexus making its move. You look at the BMW, but the Lexus goes by easy peasy up to the chicane.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you call him? Tonitza just simply said, I don't have any more in the tank. I'm not going to even chat. But now Baba, in the space of 2 corners, is right on the rear wing of the Ferrari as well. And look, comes up the inside. He's got more bite mid-corner, got more traction off the corner. So Lexus, BMW cleared the Ferrari in the space again of 2 corners.
We've got less than a lap time left in the race. Now, a minute and 13 on the clock. Cecilia is a long way up the road. I just wonder whether he might be able to squeeze one more out of it. Ben might be able to find Cecilia's location on the track for us, just to confirm that as this battle paddles its way through. What about Jack Keithley? He's on the back of Tonitza for 5th place. So the man that was on pole, David Tonitza, he's a sitting duck, isn't he? Jack Keithley here, the Williams eSports driver, is about to make a move. I mean, it's dark and gloomy, but he tries to go one way. The Ferrari's in the way, but that Bentley, surely it's going to go through, John.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate to repeat myself, but a mid-engine, front-engine GT car just dominating what we've seen here in a wet evening at Nurburgring. Gets up alongside, not quite ahead, but he may well, if he can pull enough, half a car length, he's done it. He's got ahead of Tonitza. He's getting to the chicane cleanly. It's a good pass by Keithley, and he will be delighted with that 5th place for him.
Fantastic drive this by Jack Keithley, isn't it? As the race leader is on to the last lap now. Then he just squeezed one more out of it, so Cecilia goes through. Ben, Jack Keithley, another sim racing expert. Really impressive drive by him.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with what he's managed to do on not his home platform, if you like. I've said it a few times already, but he's not used to this. We may see still a change for our podium because that BMW of Barbar is still pushing on, and he's right on the tail of Petite. Eamon Murphy had a very, very slow lap as well, but I don't think there'll be a change there.
Well, Petit was 10 seconds behind Murphy. He's only 4 seconds behind him, so he is getting closer. I don't think he's going to get past. But what about this man? We've hardly seen him, but Jesus Cecilia has had a mighty impressive race, John.
Wheel perfect. Absolutely all you could ask for a driver in the most challenging conditions. Started wet in daylight, finishing wet in darkness, and, just threading your way around a racetrack. And it's never pleasant, believe me, in either real or in simulation, to drive in a wet track that's also getting darker by the lap.
Well, it is round 3 of the SRO eSport GT series here from the Nurburgring, and it is going to be another driver, another brand that scores victory, because in the wet, in the gloom, in the cold conditions, and at virtually 10 past 8 local time, Jesus Cecilia then in the Aston Martin. He's going to come through as the winner. The AAA eSports driver accelerates up towards the line. Jesus Cecilia it is who wins here at the Nurburgring. Second across the timing line should be Eamon Murphy in the Porsche, the man that led early on. Third will be Axel Petit, or will it, because Ufuk Baba is not that far behind him. There is Petit coming in the last corner. You can see how close he is to the second place Porsche, though. Eamon Murphy is going to hang on in there, but only just. That for 4th is the best we've seen all season of Ufuk Baba in the BMW. He powers his way now up over the timing line. The M6 improving on 27th at Spa, which was his previous best result. He finishes behind Axel Petit, who was 23rd at Silverstone as his best. 5th, Jack Keithley, great drive. David Tonitza the man from pole, struggles home 6th. Jan-Marcel Dietrich, we just saw a moment ago, he will be 7th. Then it's going to be the man that started, I think I'm right in saying last of all. Yes, David Planiol, 8th from last on the grid. How about that? Apologies, we didn't really pick him up during the race, but 45th to 8th. 9th is Andre Franke, and for 10th place, it should be Kvetniewski, and this is 11th, Patrick Selva, keeping Pfeffer and Garcia at bay. So they come to the checkered flag. So Patrick Selva ran 7th briefly. He ends up in 11th place, therefore no points to Patrick Selva. It is a win for Jesus Cecilia. And again, just to make the point about David Planiol, he started 45th after qualifying, absolutely flat last in his Lexus. And there's another car that came good as the race wore on, and David Planiol taking 8th position.
Well, let's speak to a man who did finish in the points and is now at the top of the championship, David Tonitsa. David, thank you very much for joining us. How was that race for you? Because you were slipping back, but you still scored points, which I guess is the most important thing.
Yeah, hi everyone. First of all, yeah, I struggled a lot in the middle of the race and at the end. At the start of the race, I was keeping up the pace from the Porsche in front of me, and then I struggled a lot with the tires. I was losing the car in every corner. So I think P6 is a strong result, and also I am in P1 in the leaderboard. So I should be happy, but starting from pole position, I expected something better, maybe.
Were you surprised that you struggled? Because qualifying was also a bit wet as well. So were you surprised that you couldn't keep the car on the track? Have you done much wet running in general?
Yeah, I knew that my car would have a lot of problems at the end of the race, but I didn't know that the other cars could go really fast. So I was really impressed today.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, David, and congratulations on your championship lead.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you. We've also got Jack Keithley in the house, one of the drivers of the day, I think, today. Jack, we'll start off. You had a drive-through penalty earlier on, but then carved back up the order for a very strong 5th place finish.
Yeah, I don't know what I got the penalty for, because as we approached the green flag, I had things on my screen saying where I should place my car, how fast I should go, and I was doing everything in line, and I suddenly just got a drive-through out. I don't know what I done wrong, no clue. So obviously I was absolutely annoyed at the time, but wow. I mean, I don't know how I had that grip and that speed throughout the entire race. I cannot tell you. That was an absolutely mega drive. And you know Jack is used to watch me race a long time ago.
So that'll be the next race in 2 weeks' time in Barcelona, and then it'll be followed by the final round of the championship, which will be down to a public vote. So we'll let you know how to get involved in that in Barcelona in a couple of weeks. But for now, from David Addison, from Ben Constanduros, from John Watson, the whole team in Italy and at SRO, thank you very much for joining us for round 3 of the SRO Esport GT Series. Ben Barnicoat takes the win in the Pro Cup and now leads the championship. Jesus Cecilia winning in the silver class, and David Tonitsa moving to the top of the standings with just 2 to go. Round 4 will be in Barcelona in 2 weeks' time, and we'll see you then.